Hey good people, and welcome back to the channel. It's Tuesday, it's raining like crazy over here, and in a few moments, you'll get to hear my thoughts and feelings on the season finale of Ready to Love Potomac. But before we get into the meat and potatoes of the video, I want to give a special shout out to fellow YouTuber Miss Misha for showing my channel some love a few days ago. I try to catch her live streams whenever I can because we review a lot of the same content, and ever since she gave my channel a shout out on her live, I've seen a significant increase in my subscriber count, which has helped me get closer to that 1,000 mark, and I'm all for supporting fellow content creators. So once again, I'd like to extend a special thanks to Miss Misha. And without any further delay, let's jump right into the review. I first want to start off by briefly echoing my previous thoughts on the overall season of Ready to Love Potomac. This season as a whole was complete trash. It was poo-poo. Caca. A huge waste of time, and towards the halfway mark, I lost my drive to post any more episode by episode reviews. But at the very beginning of the season, I made several predictions, some of which came true. On the men's side, before even watching a single episode, I predicted that Clifton and Paul would make it to the end. I also predicted that Sabrina and Dakiya would make it to the end. And if it wasn't for that pesky self-elimination, my prediction on Sabrina would have been right on the money. But each and every season, I can usually guess at least 3 people who will go the distance just by looking at them. Now I know folks had written Paul off early on in the season, but my spider sense was tingling, and I knew Paul would prove everyone wrong and have the most connections out of all the guys on the show. And speaking of Paul, let's talk about Paul deciding to choose himself instead of seeing where things could have went with Dakiya. Now if I were a betting man, I would say that nearly every person who watched this season of the show from start to finish had questions about Paul and Dakiya's connection. It seemingly happened several weeks after Dakiya friend-zoned brother Paul, and at one point, Paul seemed like Clifton's wingman at the retreat because he helped Dakiya get her mind off of Clifton. But in my opinion, at no point did their connection seem to be strong, let alone romantic, and had they chosen one another, their connection would have likely ended right before the reunion was filmed. However, I do feel that Paul's decision to choose himself may have caused Dakiya to feel like her time on the show was a complete waste. She wanted Clifton more than anything, but couldn't get him. Wiley wanted her, but she felt like she didn't want to rob the cradle. Eric also wanted her, but we all know how that ended. And in the beginning of the season, Paul did want Dakiya, but when they revisited their connection, we could tell that his heart simply wasn't in it. I do wish the two of them the best of luck in their journey towards finding love. Now let's talk about Donovan and Carmen. To be brutally honest, this was the one connection that I was the least interested in because it didn't seem very real to me. At least with Paul and Dakiya, we as the viewing audience knew right off the bat that the two of them were just giving strong friendship vibes. But with Donovan and Carmen, it seems like their connection may be more rooted in the physical than something that can stand the test of time. I predict that Donovan and Carmen's connection will end similar to Sydney and Phil. I don't think that Donovan will be enough to truly satisfy Carmen and convince her to settle down, but I'm sure that the two of them would be more than happy to play a game of hide the zucchini from time to time. And lastly, let's talk about Clifton and Joi. Their connection was essentially a lock from the first time they saw each other. But one thing I do find ironic about Clifton and Joi's connection was that Cornelius and Camille essentially had the same type of connection last season, but they were shunned by fellow cast members and fans for falling in love too soon. Now, an argument can be made that Joi and Clifton still agreed to see other people while solidifying their connection, but we all know that those side connections were just a means of staying on the show. And it's because of this flaw that I believe going forward, the show needs to get rid of its current elimination process altogether. After all, if the true goal for cast members is to find someone who is truly ready for love, then how can the show or its cast members determine whether or not someone is truly ready to love only after a few hours, days, or weeks of knowing somebody? But back to Joi and Clifton. I have to wonder why Joi even bothered coming on the show if she knew that she was going to move out of the country towards the end of the season. I know everyone deserves an opportunity to find love, but as much as I love Joi, I think her spot on the show could have been given to somebody who would at least commit to stay in the country for the next 6 months to a year after the show ended. But in terms of predictions, I don't think Joi and Clifton will make it last forever. I can only speak from my experience with long distance dating. It takes one hell of a commitment to remain faithful and engaged when you're essentially going without seeing your significant other for several months, if not years. And temptation is just one DM or phone call away. More power to those who date long distance, but I think Joi and Clifton's connection will end like most couples on the show. So this marks the end of the video. I plan to post reviews for parts 1 and 2 of the Ready to Love Potomac reunion, so be on the lookout for that. And if you have any questions or comments related to this video, feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to reply to each and every comment. Until next time, stay tuned and stay safe. Peace.